Mayor Lambert, members of the council, as you said, I am here to propose those changes to Title VII, Chapter 9. Go ahead and start out with a little background here. A cross-connection control program is a requirement of Idaho DEQ, the Idaho Rules for Public Drinking Water Systems, and we are required to implement and enforce a cross-connection control program, and the reason for that is to protect the public water supply. It's very important to protect public health, and we do our best to make sure that happens. Title VII, Chapter 9 is the Moscow City Code that governs cross-connections.
Excuse me.
Sure.
I think we all know what cross-connection is, but I'm not sure they all know.
How about right here? Okay. I was just getting to that, actually. A cross-connection is an actual or potential connection to the public water supply where a contaminant or pollutant can be introduced. Backflow is the process through which that contaminant could enter the system, and that is the flow of water or any other substance in that water in the wrong direction, in the opposite of the intended direction. So I'll go ahead and get into it here. The proposed changes will be to Section 9-4. The first will be that all installed assemblies protecting underground irrigation systems shall be tested within 10 business days of annual recharge or startup and no later than the 30th day of June of each year. Section I will be that all other installed assemblies, and that will be all non-irrigation assemblies, shall be tested no later than September 30th of each year. Section J will be that the Public Works Director or designee shall have the authority to set and modify due dates by which the backflow assembly test required by this chapter must be completed. And then, of course, we'll bump down those K, L, and M for those following sections. These changes will provide staff the ability to ensure that all backflow assemblies are tested and working properly during the time when they're in use. This is especially important for the irrigation systems, as we talked about, because most of those are located outdoors and are subject to freezing temperatures, and that can damage those assemblies. Late in the year, when some of those test due dates were scheduled previously, freezing temperatures, scheduling difficulties with contractors, as well as winterization efforts can be problems for getting those taken care of. As well as assemblies that had test due dates near the end of the year in November or December, that leaves little buffer room if there's a scheduling difficulty, error, omission, what have you. Given those reasons, staff recommends that the council accept the proposed additions to Moscow City Code Title VII, Chapter 9, under suspension of the rules requiring 3 complete and separate readings, and that the ordinance be read by title and published by summary. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them now.
Tyson, I got a question to ask you, Ty, and that concerns, sprinkler systems we're talking about in a big way, of course, here. I mean, there's several sprinkler firms that come around residents and they test them and open them up. What have we done to notify them so they can make sure this is done? Because they're the ones that's actually doing these things.
Sure.
So a resident, uses a service like this, and the only thing they know is they get the bill on their front door. They owe me $45 for, doing this. So are all the local businesses that do this in tune to these?
Well, I do my best to keep in contact with them. I have an email list, and last year I offered up the first chance to get a kind of roundtable discussion. I'd like to do that again and get all of these things out there to those contractors, because it is a partnership that we have with them, the city and the backflow assembly testers, and reaching out to them and informing them of any changes to the rules is very important. As it is to the citizens, this is different, and so the notification process might have a little bit of a different look this year to let everyone know that something's new here, but that is important to get the message out to everyone that the rules are different, and we'll do our best to do that.
Okay. Questions for Ty? Les?
Mayor Lambert, if I could just clarify one thing from your statement. The way the system currently works, the notices for the required testing are sent to the property owners. And so they are the ones generally that are contacting those vendors that you're talking about to have them come perform the tests on their backflow devices. It's not that the vendors are going around and just testing and leaving a bill behind, but it's because they have been contacted by that homeowner or business owner to come out and actually perform the test on their particular property.
Well, Les, I understand that, but there's a lot of firms that just do it for you year over year. They just come out and they open it up whenever, based on our city's ordinance about when you can start watering, and these guys come around and test your sprinklers and get them all going for you. So, some of them are just automatic. They do it for you year over year. I'm one of the recipients of that, and I think that's probably pretty common.
And as requested by the homeowner or the business owner, that they do that on an annual basis, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wayne?
Just to clarify a few things, Ty, there's a variety of different types of backflow valves that are in use. One that we've had the discussion about is the homeowners' backflow valves in their irrigation or sprinkler system. There are also commercial backflow valves that are necessary depending upon the type of commercial business. Is that correct?
That's correct.
The homeowners, now, the one thing that I want to make certain I'm clear on is that this is a Moscow ordinance. However, it's an ordinance that mirrors a state requirement. Is that correct?
That's true. We are required to have this cross-connection control program and make sure that all of the parameters therein are taken care of.
In the last 3 years that we've been having to test these on an annual basis, what's the percentage that we've had that have actually failed?
This last year, if I remember correctly, it was 7.2%.
So we do have some that are not functioning properly.
That's right.
And so with a loss of city water pressure, and if there was a standing water within the property that maybe had fertilizer or different types of chemicals on it, that could siphon back into the municipal water system. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And that's the reason for the backflow valve then.
Absolutely.
Bill indicated that, and as Les said, that the homeowners are notified that they need to have that done, and they have to contact, it's usually the landscape people are doing, a lot of them are doing that, but as you indicated too, that folks that have already have a business relationship with a landscape company or a sprinkler system company, they already are coming around and they're doing that just as a matter of taking care of your system. So does that sound right?
Yeah, that's right. And as I said, I do have a relationship with almost all of those backflow assembly testers and their associated companies, so I will definitely let them know of these changes and anything else that comes up.
One other thing, if I may.
Okay, go ahead.
Once the system is tested, the homeowner's not required to mail the paperwork in. The testing company themselves mails it in to the city, correct?
That's right. It's the responsibility of the backflow assembly tester.
Thank you. Walter?
Thank you, Mayor. I believe I know there are also people out there who have sprinkler systems in their yards that may very well have a company come and blow them out in the winter, because not everybody's got a piece of equipment that can do that, so they hire somebody to do it. But then the homeowner starts it back up themselves. They just know where the valve is, turn it on, put it back in business. A concern that I've got is, and I've mentioned this to Ty, and I want to hear him say it again, that when we move this up to where it shall be done within 10 business days of annual recharge or startup, number one, that those property owners are being notified, reminded that you need to have it tested and turn in the paperwork no later than. And also the fact that we're not creating such a tight time frame that they try to get it done and can't find somebody that's licensed to do it, and they get caught in the I'm trying my best, but Acme and Fred and Bill and John are all tied up and can't get to me for 30 days. So if you'd speak to that, then I have one other question.
Sure. Well, as we said, the notification process and the education of everyone is extremely important, and we'll continue to follow that process and make sure that we get the word out as best as we possibly can. I guess we can anticipate some learning curve this year, and we'll take that into consideration, but we can do we can do a lot with getting the word out and making sure that everyone knows that this needs to be done.
Walter?
I'll make that two other questions. You made me think of another one. Do you know who has sprinkler systems that require backflow prevention devices?
Everyone that we know about, we do require that they have.
Right.
And so part of the cross-connection control program is an inspection, is a process to locate those cross-connections that we don't know about, and that is ongoing.
Does you notice that you mail out to people reminding them to have this done? I presume it goes to all the sprinkler systems of which you are aware.
Correct.
Does it go to all water users in the city or just to those?
No, the specific notifications of letting people know that the test is due at this point only does go to those that we know about.
Okay.
And
All right, and my last question is, so I don't get it done within 10 business days, I don't get it done by June 30, I don't get it done by multiple reminders. Is there any penalty involved? I don't see it in what's in front of us.
the penalty is termination of the water service, of shutting off the water. There is no monetary penalty,
Okay.
but the ultimate end game there would be termination of water.
Okay, and that is in our ordinance?
Right, that is already,
Okay,
that
thank you.
currently is in the ordinance.
Jim?
In residential connections where there's no sprinkler system involved, is there something in the system that prevents backflow where there's not, where the homeowner doesn't have a backflow system?
Generally, no. There only are in a few certain circumstances. One of those would be for tall buildings or anywhere where there's a service 30 feet or more above the water meter face. And so because of that height of the water, it can create a back pressure because of that. But in general, no, most residential places do not require a backflow assembly because of the low level of hazard at those places.
Rod's got his hand.
Mr. Mayor, just to clarify, if somebody violates our code, but then it's specifically spelled out in this particular code section, could be a misdemeanor, and they could be prosecuted that way. But normally, the city's going to try to make sure somebody's complying, and we'll work with them to make sure that they get into compliance. It's usually the people that are just saying, there's no way that you're going to make your laws apply to me, that we ever really have problems.
Okay, other questions for Ty?
Just a comment,
John?
and it seems to me one of the most important things that you brought up in your process when we were at the committee meeting was that the city now has the ability to change the dates as necessary, and I would assume that that also means that the city will do its best to make sure that all of the things that were just discussed here as far as communicating with the people involved and making any adjustments that have to be made will be taken care of?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Wayne?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the ordinance under suspension of the rules requiring 3 complete and separate readings that will be read by title and published by summary.
I'll second.
Okay, I got a motion by Wayne to approve the ordinance and the suspension of the rules requiring 3 complete and separate readings, and that the ordinance be read by title and published by summary. Art, second that motion. I'll start the roll with Walter.
Aye.
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 Okay. And this is ordinance 2015-02. Okay, ordinance number 2015-02, an ordinance of the City of Moscow, Idaho, a municipal corporation of the State of Idaho, providing for the amendment of Moscow City Code Title 7, Chapter 9, providing city and the necessary tools to effectively administer the cross-connection control program, providing that the provisions of this ordinance be deemed severable, and providing for this ordinance to be in full force and effect from the date of its passage, approval, and publication according to law. Thank you, Ty.
Thank you, gentlemen.